But Zuckerberg himself has finally admitted to everything. So on Monday, in a letter to Jim Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee, Zuckerberg laid everything out. Zuckerberg redemption arc? Well, at this point, that is still up for debate, but we'll talk about that later. I mean, guys, what a transformation. Because not only is he calling out Biden and our government, but he's saying that they will never do this again. Look how different X is and how we can get information out there. If Facebook was free speech too, the game would be completely different. But you know what? This is a start. Another person said, it is actually unbelievable that this POS admitted this. Another person said, I wish I could believe or trust him, but I can't. The difference between something being a conspiracy and then coming out as truth seems to be just about a few years these days, if my calculations are correct. And this latest admission of truth is just another notch on our conspiratorial belts. The US government, specifically under Biden and Harris's administration, was asking Meta and other social media platforms to censor and suppress information in 2021. And if you're rolling your eyes, you're saying, yeah, Brett, obviously, I already know that. Well, a lot of people didn't, or they didn't believe it, even after whistleblowers exposed everything in 2021, as I'm sure many of you guys remember. But Zuckerberg himself has finally admitted to everything. And all of this, in my opinion, is very in line with this massive rebrand that Zuck has been undergoing. So on Monday, in a letter to Jim Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee, Zuckerberg laid everything out. Charlie Kirk posted about the letter saying, breaking, Mark Zuckerberg, in a letter to Chairman Jim Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee, writes that he, quote, regrets working with the Biden-Harris administration, which repeatedly pressured Meta's team for months to censor COVID posts, including satire and humor. Quote, I believe that the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. Zuckerberg redemption arc? Well, at this point, that is still up for debate, but we'll talk about that later. In this letter, Zuckerberg wrote, in 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire. I'm sure we all remember that, because I'm sure that many of us were victims of Meta's disinformation campaign. Going on, he said, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take the content down, and we own our own decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think that we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we are ready to push back if something like this happens again. I mean, guys, what a transformation. If you've been on Facebook, if you have engaged with basically any Meta platforms, you know that they are the worst. You can't post anything even remotely controversial without getting dinged with a misinformation flag. Because not only is he calling out Biden and our government, but he's saying that they will never do this again. And the other thing that I really admire in this letter is that he's taking accountability. He's saying, yes, they pressured us, but at the end of the day, we did make that choice and I won't do it again. Obviously, this letter has gone mega viral. The news has spread basically across every social media platform. One person said, I hope that Zuckerberg has reformed. Look how different X is and how we can get information out there. If Facebook was free speech too, the game would be completely different. Another person said, it's late, but this is a rare Zuck dub. But many people do not share this sentiment. For a lot of people, they are not ready to forgive Zuckerberg, understandably, especially while conservatives are still being slapped with limited reach and being put in misinformation jail on Instagram for literally posting nothing. Somebody commented and said, zero sympathy or credit at this point. Another person said, it is actually unbelievable that this POS admitted this. Another person said, I wish I could believe or trust him, but I can't. And Charlie Kirk replied to this guy and he said, I think that we should root for our American industry leaders to get this stuff right. It's appropriate not to trust and be skeptical given what's happened, but I would be overjoyed to watch Zuckerberg emerge as a free speech champion. And I completely 100% agree with Charlie here. You do not need to fully trust Zuckerberg. You probably shouldn't fully trust Zuckerberg, but you should be rooting for his integrity and his honesty and his support of free speech, because that is a net good thing for literally everyone, for the sake of our country, if anything else, because this has been going on for years and there has been no accountability. And this is a huge, huge step in the right direction. Now, one thing that is wild to me when I've been reading the comments about the Zuckerberg letter is that there are so many people on the left who are excusing this behavior from Meta and from the Biden administration because COVID-19 was, a special circumstance. People were dying. We had to protect people. And to that, I say, You are literally falling into their trap. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And that is exactly what happened in 2020 and 2021, not just with how big tech was weaponized, but also with the lockdowns. But it's important to note that this wasn't just about COVID and medical misinformation, kind of like what you heard Holly talk about, that they also wanted to expand that to Afghanistan and Ukraine and racial justice, and of course, the Hunter Biden laptop story. Because in that same letter, Zuck came out and said that he similarly regrets censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story and literally says, "I now know this was not Russian disinformation." In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma that led up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It has since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. Wow, imagine that. Crazy idea.